Hey guys, this is my axolotl setup. I thought I would do a quick video and just contribute to the community on the setup that's worked for me for keeping some axolotls that are growing quite quickly, eating very well. They seem to be pretty happy, pretty active. They're especially active right now because I just did a partial water change as well as feed them. So my guys are actually pretty avid eaters. So they think that when it's dinner time, they just want to go crazy and eat and eat and eat and eat. Um, Currently, I'm feeding them giant earthworms that I'm sectioning up into pieces for them. I was feeding them sinking soft pellets from the pet store, and I found that they just didn't really like them. They would eat them, but they just didn't really seem to want to eat very much. Once I started feeding them the worms, though, I find that they want to eat a lot more and a lot more often. And this is my juvenile albino here, and he's actually started growing quite a bit more since I started feeding him the worms instead of the pellets. So it makes me wonder if they just weren't getting quite the nutrition that they needed. Now, I've got one albino in this tank and two wild types. The one in the front is toothless. The one here in the back, the largest of the three, is Nixie, and the small one is Ghost. Ghost is still a juvenile, and I believe that Toothless and Nixie are both female wild types that are already full grown. I don't know the gender of Ghost at this time. I think he's still too young, but he seems to be big enough now that I'm able to keep him with the other two. I had the tanks separated for a very long time with a divider after I got Ghost because he was just too small. I didn't want him to get munched on. I've had them together now for several weeks, and they, as you can see, Ghost still has all of his limbs, all of his gills. He actually will nip at the two bigger axolotls a lot more often than they might take a chomp at him. And the only time I see them ever even do that is during feeding time. So I'll usually try to get them in 3 different places of the tank to feed them their worms individually, because they'll pretty much snap at anything that moves once they realize it's feeding time. So a little bit about the tank. I actually have 2 10-gallon filters running right now. I have this one here, which is a filter that I used to keep the bamboo growing in, but I found the filter just didn't keep a good run going on it when that was happening. The bamboo seemed to clog it up a little bit and gunk it up. So I took the bamboo out. I kept the bio balls in there, which are just little clay balls. And this is what I had when they were back in a 10-gallon aquarium. Now, they are now actually in a 20-gallon long, which some might say is still a little too small to have 3 axolotls. But I do water changes very frequently, and I do have 2 running filters on there. And they seem to be doing just fine. I only had 2 when I had the 10-gallon aquarium for them a couple of months ago. And it was Toothless and Ghost. Nixie is new. I got her a couple weeks ago. And so I decided to add a 3rd adult axolotl to the mix when I got the bigger aquarium, just because they seem to be doing so well. Now, I do have a lot of live plants in the aquarium as well that I'm sure help keep the water quality up. And I also have a marimo ball in there, which is the algae ball, which is also supposed to help your water quality. So basically what I've done here is I've gone for more of a natural look. A lot of live plants. I have the bamboo in there. I have some leafy plants in there, like I believe that's an Anubis. And then I also have live driftwood in there, just waterwood there, which helps with our water is really hard here, so it helps soften the water parameters a little bit for these guys. And then other than that, I just have fine sand in there for the bottom. You don't want to put pebbles or fish pebbles in there or anything like that, small stones that these guys are going to be able to suck up, because when they think it's feeding time, they're going to eat anything that they see you put in the tank pretty much, and they basically suck up their food by opening their mouths really wide very quickly, and it creates a vacuum which sucks the whatever you're feeding to them up into their mouth. Now, so I use the fine sand here, granules. I truthfully just bought play sand, and I cleaned it very, very thoroughly, or else it's just going to create a lot of dust in your tank. And as you can tell, even just for doing a cleaning, my tank is already pretty cleared up, and that just happened before I started filming this. And then the only other thing I did was put some river rock in there just to, give it some texture, some stuff for them to climb on, a little bit of color to the sand along with the plants, and give it a little bit more of a natural look. And then I do have, more just for me, a bubbler going. I do have it in the far corner, just off to the side around the driftwood. That way it's not right in the middle of the tank. These guys don't like a lot of current pushing them around. I know that too much oxygen in the tank can also cause their gills to not be as long and as feathery. So that's just kind of what I've got going here. I also have a thermometer that I keep track of at all times. It is summertime, and I don't know if you can see, the sun is kind of coming through the window here, but I do have the water at just under 70 degrees Fahrenheit. You can kind of see the line there. It's probably truthfully closer to 68 or 67. And that's a pretty good temperature for these guys. As long as I'm under the green, to be truthful, I'm pretty happy with where their water temperature is. These guys do not like warm water. It will make them sluggish and can stress them out. And so I keep the water very cool. Luckily, I'm in an air-conditioned apartment. I had a hard time when I was in my house keeping these guys cool because I was on the top floor in a bedroom that had 2 windows in it that got a lot of sun, and that room was the hottest room in the house. And these guys' water was a lot of times 72 degrees, which is right on that line that's going to stress them out. And so I a lot of times had to float iced water bottles or get a fan that I would hook up to the top of the tank and have blow directly across the water, which caused evaporation and in turn cools the water. So if you're having water temperature issues, feel free to hook a fan. I don't have a lid on my tank. If you want a lid on your tank, I suggest something that's going to be the metal grate, because then you can set a fan on there and it'll blow across the water. That's my hermit crab aquarium there, 10-gallon. The fan will blow across the water and cause the temperature of the water to cool for these guys. They do like it just a little bit below room temperature of about 69. So keep your water cool, keep it clean, keep these guys well fed. Watch them for aggression towards each other. Don't get 2 axolotls that are a lot different in size. They may nip at each other or try to eat each other. They are cannibalistic. They'll eat anything that'll fit in their mouth. Feed them some bloodworms, earthworms. The sinking pellets will work. I fed Ghost and Toothless on sinking worms for quite a while, or sinking pellets, I'm sorry. And it worked. I don't think they liked it. Their appetites have increased so much more since I started feeding them earthworms instead. Other than that, these guys make a really cool pet. I also put feeder fish in there from a source that I know has healthy, parasite-free fish. So if your local pet store just kind of has sickly feeder fish that just aren't doing very well, I wouldn't put them in your tank. Feed these guys worms instead. But if you do have some good feeder fish that you can put in there, they love them so much. I'll put about 24 small fish in here, super tiny fish, and they'll be gone within about a week, completely eaten up. And these guys love it. So, if you're going on vacation or something, put some feeder fish in there. It'll feed your axolotls while you're gone. I only feed them usually about every other day, but they would eat every day if I let them. I don't think it would hurt them to eat that often, but I just don't think it's necessary. They're pretty fat, especially Toothless here. She's my fat, short female, and I just got Nixie, and I'm trying to fatten her up a little bit because these females are supposed to be pretty fat. Big round bellies is what you're looking for. Now, if you need to know how to sex your axolotl or tell the gender of your axolotl, you're going to want to look right at their hindquarters. And if you look at Nixie here,
it's flat right behind her hind legs there. Now, if she was a male, there would be a gland there, or like a pouch there, a bulb, and that usually indicates that it will be a male. Now, if you look here, I'm starting to wonder if Ghost is going to be a male, because if you look, there is a slight bulge there that may indicate this guy is starting to mature and may turn into a male. At that time, I don't know what I'll do, if I'll have to separate him to keep him from having babies, because if you look at Toothless, that is also female there. It's pretty flat as you can get there. So there's Ghost saying hi. You can see the bull there a little bit better when he was swimming up on the glass, but as of yet, I'm not sure what these guys all are, but as you can tell, they're starting to get to be pretty similar in size, and they don't really nip at each other unless they know it's feeding time, and I let them get too close. So, there you go. Kind of a long video. Let me know if you guys have any questions or anything that I might be able to help you with your axolotls, or if you're thinking of considering getting some. Kids love these guys. You can't hold them. They stay in the water. They don't like being really touched. Sometimes Toothless here will float toward the top of the aquarium, and I might, give her a stroke on the back, and she doesn't seem to mind. She's pretty tame. Nixie's a lot more skittish. She won't let me touch her. She's got some really pretty markings there. You can see a lot of gold flecks. That's true to the wild type. For a long time, I thought that Toothless was melanoid when she was a lot smaller, but as you can see, she also has the characteristics of a wild type, with all of her little spots, patterns, and gold flecks that she's developed as she's aged. Now, as far as I'm aware, Ghost is a true albino leucistic. A regular leucistic would have black eyes. Mine does not. In fact, you can barely see her little eyes there, or his. Oh, see, took a little chomp at Toothless. Never gets a leg or anything, but he is the most snappy, unfortunately. But the smallest, so doesn't really cause any harm to the bigger ones. If he does start getting bigger and trying to go after some legs and stuff, I might have to separate him as well. So just keep an eye on your guys and see how they all get along. Mine get along well enough that I can keep them in their big, beautiful tank, and they're happy. Eventually, someday, I wouldn't mind getting, a lot bigger tank for these guys, maybe a 40-gallon long or 50-gallon, and I'm sure they would love it. Maybe have some more feeder fish in there or something. But for now, it's just them and the fish that I put in there for them to eat that really don't last very long. I hope this video was helpful. Sorry if I said any information that was incorrect, but this is what I have found just from keeping these guys for a couple of years now. One of my favorite pets to have, and I hope you guys all have a good one.